Unlike the foreign troops before them, when the Americans arrived in Korea in 1945, they were greeted with cheers and banners waving. Bill Fullerton, Chief of Public Information for the 8th Army.
When the Americans first came, of course, they came in to accept the surrender of the Japanese forces. So a lot of the Koreans at the time looked upon them as being saviors from this 36 years of Japanese occupation.
Since 1910, the Japanese had occupied Korea and virtually every position in government and industry. Japan's departure in 1945 left the country at a standstill, and a U.S. military government was left to fill the void. For 3 years, the U.S. and the South Koreans worked hand in hand to make the leap from occupied land to new democracy. In 1948, for the first time in their 4,000-year history, Korea held elections. They elected an assembly, adopted a constitution, and chose Syngman Rhee to be their first president. With the new government in place, the U.S. Army forces headed home, but they would soon be returning. June 25th, 1950, North Korea attacked. In just 3 days, Seoul fell. With little resistance, the North Koreans pushed through the infant republic until they had conquered all but a tiny corner in the southeast.
When the war broke out in 1950 and North Korea invaded, the South Korean forces were small. They did not have weapons that could stop the North Koreans, and so they needed help. They got help. The Americans came back. They rallied other nations to come back, and they came back in. And for a long time afterwards, we were seen as the main force that had saved Korea.
It was General Douglas MacArthur who planned the battle that turned the war around. Under his direction, UN forces swept in from the Yellow Sea at Incheon. At the same time, the reinforced UN troops in the south pushed northward, and in a matter of weeks, South Korea was reclaimed. The UN forces continued north and in another month had captured almost the entire Korean peninsula. With the war almost on their border, the Chinese struck, and the war turned again. The UN forces had to retreat. From then on, fighting seesawed across the 38th parallel. A stalemate appeared. By July 1951, both sides agreed to talk peace, but it would take 2 more years of warfare and Americans dying in this distant land before an agreement was reached. July 27, 1953, after 37 months of fighting, a truce was declared.
We have won an armistice on a single battleground, not peace in the world.
The war has never officially ended. Korea remains divided by the DMZ, and the armistice stands as the longest armed truce in history. General S.L.A. Marshall called Korea the century's nastiest little war. In 10 years in Vietnam, 58,000 Americans died. 54,000 Americans died in Korea in 3 years. Between the years 1945 and 1953, the U.S. military cemented a relationship with Korea, and today the two countries remain the closest of allies.